One. Hi, you folks. Scott, where you guys? Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
See, everybody? It all comes back around. So, we...
Yeah, sure. That's what we'll go with, yeah.
Okay, so I'm hopefully you can hear Chris. I think I'm holding the phone in a proper place. We talked about finding some way to link up via Skype, but we just didn't get around to it.
We're very lazy, America. And the world, I guess. I don't know. We don't do things that we say we're going to do. And I apologize ahead of time for my voice. I'm a little raspy. It seems like anytime we do one of these things on the phone, my voice is not what it should be.
But nobody can tell because you're on the phone.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's modern technology.
So, so we were I was hoping we could do a thing on Sunday night right after the show when the emotions were high, but we couldn't, and we couldn't get, it's what is today, Wednesday?
Today is Wednesday, yes.
It feels like Wrestlemania was so long ago. In fact, I thought, why even bother? I thought, why bother? Because everything that could be said has been said.
Personally, though, I feel like it's better because I know my view on some things has changed as the days have gone on. So
yeah, Chris and I have not discussed WrestleMania. We've not had a chance to talk, so I'm interested to hear what he has to say about things. So, where do you want to begin? Let's begin with the Ultimate Warrior's passing. Yesterday, right?
Yeah, apparently yesterday around, I don't know what time zone. I heard like 5:50. I didn't know what time zone it was in, but it was yesterday evening. And that's insane. Based on what I've heard on the interweb, witnesses are claiming that they saw him clench, holding his chest before he, I guess, passed. And the wrestlers were commenting on, how just weak he looked all weekend. So,
oh, really?
I'm guessing this was something that was coming.
Yeah, and it's really bizarre, but good, that he had this moment of glory. I haven't really followed his post-WWE career, but I mean, how many of these wrestlers? And I haven't watched I haven't got to him yet on the Hall of Fame ceremony. I've had to watch in little spells. But look at Jake the Snake Roberts, his little speech that he gave, talking about the depths to which you sink when you fall out of the spotlight, and it's very it could turn into a tragic life, post fame.
The thing about the Ultimate Warrior is he's. I can remember seeing him as a kid. I remember seeing him in person as a kid. I've seen him, live before, long time ago. And I'll admit he was never one of my favorites. I never really gravitated to him, and not to sound disrespectful or anything, but he's a bit of a nut job.
I'd heard such things, but the point I'm making is.
He's very out there.
Yeah, but, and again, who knows what happens emotionally and mentally when you fall from the top of the world to the...
Well, that's my point. He's one of those people that, when the spotlight was off of him, when his career was over, he went out of his way to kind of try to draw some attention to himself, and not always in a good way or the right way. So, for me, it was nice to see him, able to come back and able to get another shot.
That was my point, to get the adoration and the adulation of not only the fans, which is enough, but also the WWE, for them to honor him that way and give him a couple of spots.
One of the other problems that I have with it, and again, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but
no.
Go off topic, but I've said this before, and I'll say it again. To me, the whole WWE Hall of Fame isn't a real Hall of Fame until Randy Savage is in.
Yeah, that remains a...
He's a guy that didn't get that shot, didn't get that moment of glory, and he's not going to be able to get that now.
True.
He'll probably end up in there one day, but to me, it's kind of like a too little, too late situation because, he didn't get that moment. He didn't get that chance to bury the hatchet and make those amends and get that last moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice that Warrior did, and I'm happy that he did. But yeah, the whole situation is just bizarre.
Mm-hmm. That it would happen now after such a great moment. Well, so let's move on from the unpleasantness to the show itself, which maybe you thought it was unpleasant itself, but I don't know. What did you? So let's go. I will say, on the whole, I was really happy. And I'm thinking of all the WrestleManias that I've experienced in my life as a fan, and it goes back, and I have not been terribly satisfied with, for instance, the main events of all of these WrestleManias that I've seen.
Yeah, me personally, this was one of the best manias that I've ever seen.
And that was what I was
I've
thinking.
seen quite a few. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen most of them. And this has been one of my favorite ones. And the main event itself, while the actual match was a little, it left a little bit to be desired, but the overall outcome and the overall ending, was one of the best, real feel-good moments that we've had in WrestleMania in a very long time.
Okay, and we'll get to the final match when we get to the final match. So hang on to your seats, everybody. Okay, so let's try to go in order. You have a better memory than I do of these things. But the first match of the night was...
The first match was... Well, the first segment of the night was the whole Hogan, Steve Austin, Rock thing.
Yes, what did you think of all that?
I thought it was very clever. I mean, I had heard before the show that they were all in town, so I thought that we would see all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was still really cool seeing them all in the ring together.
Yeah. I don't get the whole Silverdome. Who's that? Hulk? Hogan?
No, Stone Cold.
Oh, Stone Cold. We saw him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I guess it was, 27?
20 in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, 27. Yeah, that's 3-4 years ago.
Oh, doesn't feel like it's been that long. But I don't get the whole Silverdome thing. Nobody, was it just an honest mistake, or that's a weird...
I think it was an honest mistake. I mean, I read something online where he talked about it after the fact that he was, he legitimately had the whole Silverdome WrestleMania 3 thing in his mind, and that just kind of...
But it was...
That, and he's an old man.
He's not that old.
He's so old.
I don't think he's even 60, do you think?
Oh, yes, he's in his 60s, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. But yeah, that was a nice moment to see all of the three hugest stars in WrestleMania history in the same ring together. So the first match that we see is Triple H versus Daniel Bryan and the winner moves on to the triple threat match with Orton and Batista.
Correct.
I thought this match was a good match.
I do too. I think it was the best match of the show.
Really?
Which says a lot for it being the opening match. It's kind of weird that it was the opening match, but I could see why they did it. It makes sense to have it at the very beginning of the show because the winner needs time to rest. Mm-hmm.
Well, but you start out with a match. Say what you will about Triple H. I don't know what people are saying. Oh, I wanted to say that I've been way out of the loop for almost the entire year. I haven't really been following WWE, not because I hate it or anything, but it's just hard to follow. If I don't have Hulu Plus, I don't have cable. It's hard to follow things. So I apologize for my ignorance, and I'm sure I'll be asking Chris a lot of questions. Or you, lovely viewer, if you could fill me in if you hear me saying something way out or wrong. But I don't know what people are saying about Triple H these days with his position. I am assuming that this authority thing, they're playing up kind of a heel... not GM, but a heel ownership, like Mr. McMahon type role. But
yeah, it's very similar to in the Attitude Era, the whole Stone Cold Vince McMahon thing. It's along those same lines.
Okay. And, we do need to mention Stephanie's god-awful outfit.
Oh, God, yeah.
I think that she, though, has followed in her father's footsteps in being just a great natural heel. She just is able to ooze.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I think
despicability.
It's just funny to me how so often the best heels on all of these shows are not wrestlers themselves. They're either managers or just people with speaking roles.
Mm-hmm.
And she's definitely that. She just has this natural ability to make people hate her.
But so we start out.
The wardrobe helped because it was just god awful.
And that's why she picked it. It had to have been. But I also think that Triple H is a solid wrestler. That was the other point I was going to make. I don't know what people are saying about him. I don't know if the world has just written him off, the wrestling fan community. But he's a solid wrestler. Here you have a great persona and storyline that they're pushing. And Daniel Bryan, you get a feel-good moment. I think it was a great way to start the show. A solid match with a good ending.
Yeah, I mean, going into this show, because halfway through the show, my, thoughts on everything completely changed. But going into the show, this was, it was a predictable outcome. There's no way Daniel Bryan won't win this match.
Right.
But, even knowing that, or thinking I knew that,
fun to watch.
It was still a lot of fun, and it was still a great match to see.
Great. Wonderful. So, moving on to match number 2. Match number 2
was the Shield versus Kane and the New Age Outlaws.
Oh, yeah, now...
I'll be honest, I didn't see the majority of this match. I stepped out after the Daniel Bryan Triple H match to make myself some food.
Oh. I'll tell you what I thought about it. The first Shield, and I haven't seen much of the Shield, again, but the first time that I really saw them, and it might have been one of their debut matches, I think it was on Raw, and they were doing it was like a 6-man tag match, and they were doing this brilliant performance where they would tag in and out so quickly that their opponents just couldn't ever get their bearings. The Shield guys were jumping in and out so quickly that none of them ever got hurt or tired, and it was brilliant. A++. 10 out of 10. Right? I don't know. But it was good. This match, however, there was so much in and out, coming and going, but we lost track of who was actually in the match. The referees made no attempt to control the action. None of this, hey, you're not the legal man, get out. You two get out of the ring. It was just like madness. And to me, it all fell apart. It wasn't a fun match to watch because it was just too much.
The last match added to the card. It was the last match on the show. And it did have this feel of just being thrown together, which, you hate to see, but the Shield, there was no way the Shield wasn't going to be involved in some kind of match at WrestleMania because they've done too much work and they've earned it.
Are they
part of the problem, though, is that they've just recently, had this whole face turn.
That's what I was about to ask, because they were heels for so long. Is it just recent, or is it post-WrestleMania?
It started, they started leading into it probably a couple weeks before WrestleMania.
Okay.
And I would say, WrestleMania was kind of like a coming out party, if you will, for them as good guys.
Hello!
Yeah, especially Raw the night after. I don't know if you've seen Raw yet.
That I saw, yeah.
Yeah, that's when it was really like, okay, they're good dudes now.
So.
But, it was, the match itself, it was very brief. It was filler. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about it.
No. So, the next match after that, then, is...
The Battle Royale.
Battle Royal. The Andre the Giant Memorial.
Battle Royale with cheese.
So, What do you have to say about that?
What battle royals to me, with the exception of the Royal Rumble, battle royals to me, they're hard to watch. They really are, especially when you've got 30 guys in the ring at one time. It's hard to follow everything that's going on.
Sometimes, yeah.
It was a typical battle royal. It was nice to see a lot of really, main event quality guys in a match like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's bizarre because we're at a time, especially WrestleMania, where there's so many guys that main event quality guys that aren't really going to get a match.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to throw a match like this together.
Yeah. And I had a thought about that, and I will save it for a later moment. So just remember, I had a thought really close to what Chris just said. So it was nice to see Cesaro throwing Big Show over the top rope, reminiscent of the Hulk Hogan.
Of WrestleMania 3 when Hulk Hogan picked up Andre the Giant.
So that was nice. And again, I was unaware that Cesaro, he's going places apparently.
Yes.
And he's a Heyman guy, apparently.
Yes.
So
it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him because. I know we're going to talk about Brock more in a minute, but, Brock is definitely a heel, and Cesaro is leaning towards the good guy now, so it's going to be interesting to see how Heyman could pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that he can. He's, to me, probably the one person that can pull something like that off.
Okay. Fair enough. So, moving on, the next match was Cena Bray Wyatt, right?
Correct.
So, I know what your thoughts are, without even discussing that too much.
Of course.
Chris thinks Cena needs to lose, yada, yada, yada. And I understand that. And all the fans understand that. I think we all understand, we all have the same understanding. However, the thought that I had just a few moments ago, and when Chris and I were texting back and forth during WrestleMania, and I made the comment that it's a moral victory, that Cena's going to have to win this moral victory.
Okay, but that's the thing. That's the thing about this whole moral victory angle. I mean, yes, WrestleMania is traditionally the one pay-per-view of the year where the good guys win.
Right.
And you always want to end the show on a high note.
Uh-huh.
The exception with the John Cena match this year is that this is very low on the card. It was in the middle of the show. So I think you could have had, John Cena lose here, and you wouldn't have lost anything in the show.
Here's the problem.
Because of the high that you're going to get at the end with Daniel Bryan.
Here's the problem with that. And I'm not disagreeing, except to say that John Cena, we all know that he's won too much. They've painted themselves into a corner, that he can't turn heel. There are a lot of places he can't go. So they keep having to up the stakes. So they have to go from, I never quit, to someone really making him want to quit, to really an up and up and up. And what they wound up doing with this match was they have this, Bray is like a, almost like a false prophet type guy.
Yeah, like a Jonestown type thing.
Right, but the problem is that it's not simply somebody telling Cena you can't win. It's this guy that has this false religiosity that he's trying to use to beat Cena over the head. And again, you can't just lose to that. You can't have Cena just, lay down to someone who's evil. So they built it up too big. They made Bray too...
Here's part of my point with that is, okay, if WrestleMania 30 really was a passing of the torch, a passing of the torch to Daniel Bryan.
Right.
This is John Cena's way of saying to Daniel Bryan, okay, you're the guy now. If that legitimately happens, and I think there's a possibility that it could, we could see John Cena make that turn. And, if nothing else, he didn't have to, become a bad guy at WrestleMania. He could have just, use a darker persona, if you will, to beat Bray Wyatt, and I would have been fine with something like that.
But that's
just more of this thing, goody two shoes. I'm not going to cheat to win crap, and I'm just so over that.
And you can be, but just for the sake of the product and for the sake of... Look, wrestling is very good guy, bad guy oriented. As much as we smarter fans can appreciate that guy's playing a bad guy, there are a lot of fans, and especially the younger ones, that don't understand that complexity, and John Cena's their hero, so let them have their hero. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I mean, I see your point. I understand that, but that, let's be honest, just Scott, that ties directly into the next match, where you have this guy that everybody from the ages of 5 to, I would argue, 30s and 40s, if you're really dorky like we are. No offense, anybody.
And I'm not in my 40s, by the way. Chris is
the kind of guy that everybody still idolizes, everybody still admires, and everybody still respects.
Right.
And what happened to him? He lost. He lost the one match of the year that he's never supposed to lose.
His only match of the year lately, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess we're moving on. So we're never going to agree about Cena, but I think I made my point, and I think you all probably agree with Chris anyway on the Cena situation. So, first of all, what did you think, just the match itself with Undertaker and Brock? Did you think it was a strong match, weak match? What?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm just going to get this out of the way, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was only ever one person's decision to end the streak. I think it was always the Undertaker's decision to make.
Yeah.
And I think he's the one that decided to do it. And I think part of the reason why he decided to do it was he wanted to come back, he wanted to do one more match, but I think early on, he knew it wasn't going to be very good. He knew he wasn't going to be able to go. And it showed in the match. And I think deep down he thought, well, I don't want to go out there and suck and win. Not to say that he sucked, but, I don't want to go out there and have a bad match and win, because that's not going to be very memorable. What would be memorable is if I go out there and lose, regardless of how bad the match is, me losing is going to be the most memorable moment on not only that show, but arguably in the history of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of the reason why they did what they did. Because, the match itself, it was forgettable. There wasn't really anything about it that stood out to me.
Yeah, but, my problem with that argument is, and I've seen people making this online, look at the first Triple H Undertaker match, and that was one where I didn't feel that the Undertaker was expending a lot of effort athletically, but he was working really hard from a storytelling standpoint. So he was...
Well, that's the other point I was going to make, is the story, the lead up into this match hasn't been good at all. There really was no story. It was just they threw these two guys together and they were going to have a match. There wasn't a whole lot of storytelling behind it. There was nothing to really draw you in.
Okay.
Especially the WrestleMania 28 match against Triple H with Shawn Michaels as the referee. That, I will say right now, is probably my favorite Undertaker match at WrestleMania. I would put it above WrestleMania 25, personally.
Wait, which one?
A lot of people will disagree with me there. But from a storytelling standpoint, that was one of the best stories I've ever seen told in the ring.
Which one again?
WrestleMania 28. That's the Hell in a Cell.
Oh, okay.
Second Triple H match.
Okay.
And that was just a great story that was told in the ring. And, we weren't going to... You're not going to get that with Brock Lesnar, for starters, because the guy doesn't have much personality. Sorry, Brock.
Huh. Yeah, I think you said it all. Let me hearken back to that moment that I was telling you about. So during the Battle Royal, I thought to myself, seeing The Miz in it, seeing these other main event people, first I thought to myself, well, gee, this is sad if this is what it's come to. But then I stopped and I had this philosophical thought where I said, that's just the way it is. People's careers go up and they go down, and maybe they'll go back up, maybe they won't, maybe it's over. And at a certain point in the Undertaker match, and I don't know what made me think it, but I just had a quick flash where I thought, he could just say this is it. This and that'll be fine. If that's what he wants to do, he might realize that it's time for my career to come to an end, for me to move on, and I'm just going to lose. And so, I don't know. It was still shocking when it happened, but somehow in my head...
When it happened, very rarely do I, not react in any way, but when it happened, I just kind of sat there for a second, and I thought about it, and I was like, did I just see what I thought I saw?
Mm-hmm.
And the part of what just got to me was, that they started showing all these people in the crowd, and just a shocked look on their faces, and I, honestly, I started laughing, because I just thought, that's just so insane, and it just immediately just got to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew how to react to it. And I just sat there thinking to myself, okay, how are they going to spin this? How are they going to spin this? And I just started thinking, I was like, they can't spin this. There's no way to spin this. He very clearly just pinned him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was the same way. I sat there it was a shock, and it's weird to think about that, to be shocked by a wrestling show. I mean, if you think about it, it's predetermined outcomes and whatnot.
Yeah, but this is the point I wanted to make. This goes back to my whole thought of the show being predictable. When that happened, I sat there and I thought to myself, as much as I may think I know how this show is going to end, I don't have a damn clue how it's going to end now. And that's one of those things that to me it made the final match better. Because I kept thinking, maybe Daniel Bryan's not going to win this. Maybe they're going to throw us for another loop. I don't know what to think anymore.
Well, and my thought, not even pertaining to the rest of the night, but that it was almost like Undertaker losing was almost like a gift that he was giving to WrestleMania's future.
Exactly.
Because this just goes to show you never know.
Yeah, it's WrestleMania. The past few years, especially last year, it just felt like going into the show, you knew how it was going to end. You knew everything that was going to happen. But now it's just if the Undertaker could lose at WrestleMania, there's no. I don't know. I don't know anymore. And I think he knew that is part of what would happen. And I think that's part of the reason why he decided to lose.
Mm-hmm.
To get this feeling of unpredictability back to the product.
And, I remember and I still haven't watched it. I pulled the DVD up, but I haven't watched it yet. Last year's Undertaker CM Punk match, which I remember liking a great deal. But I also remember, when it came up, that it was low enough on the card that I said, oh, there's no way he's going to lose now. Undertaker's not going to lose, because it's too early in the night. It'll be a big event. Well, it seems like it was about the same as this one. There was still matches to go. And so you would think...
That's the only other thing that scared me was, crap, I mean, I knew the Divas match would be next. But, God bless the Divas. Everybody was going to crap over all that anyway.
I didn't watch it.
Man, this is supposed to be Daniel Bryan's night. How is the crowd going to react to him coming out for this match now? Are they still going to cheer him the way that, I hoped that they would?
So let's skim past the Divas match because I got up to wash dishes. Honestly, because
there's nothing to watch. Did you watch Raw Monday? Did you see Paige? Do you know who Paige is?
If I watched the Hulu Raw.
Okay, well.
So I don't know if I remember her.
Title on Monday to Paige.
Okay.
Paige is an NXT diva. She's the NXT Women's Champion. And
Oh yeah, I always skip the diva matches. I'm sorry. So yeah, if it was there, I skipped it intentionally.
well, I think she has her coming in has potential to kind of help things with the divas. She's very good in the ring. She's a lot of fun to watch.
Okay.
And I think her and AJ in particular, it could be very reminiscent of Trish Stratus and Lita. Really kind of help the divas out, which they desperately need because for the most part they're all terrible.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm just not interested. That's all. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, moving ahead to the main event. Now, I will say this. Going into it, I saw the Raw or the WrestleMania press conference, and Dave Bautista comes out, and he's kind of being a jerk about it, but he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to the title match. I wish it wasn't a triple threat. I mean, but whatever." And I didn't know if he was in character or if he was being a little bit honest or both. Because I could see that. I could see how he might be upset about it. So,
a bit of both, but I mean, here the thing about it is not to mention any names, but Daniel Bryan needs to call CM Punk immediately and say thank you for quitting, because if CM Punk hadn't quit, that probably isn't the match we would have got.
right. And yeah, had it been Orton and Batista, I really wouldn't have cared very much.
I wouldn't have either. I think if it would have been, the original plan of it being Orton and Batista, I don't think it would have been the final match on the show. I think it would have ended with something else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, but I think they would have ended with something else.
So they're attacking Daniel Bryan, and then out come Stephanie and Triple H, and then people started chanting CM Punk. And that might have clicked something in my...
I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, is he going to come out? Has this whole thing just been a ruse, has it been playing us for fools? Is CM Punk going to come out now and save the day? But, it didn't happen.
But it was the entrance of Stephanie and Triple H, and just the way the match progressed that like you said, I thought anything can happen. Anything. And so that just kept me on the edge of my seat.
There were two pins that I specifically remember. There's a pin where, Batista speared Daniel Bryan, and then I think Orton RKO'd him and then went to pin him. And it was as close to a 3 count as you can get without it being a 3 count. And I remember seeing that thinking, oh God, they're going to end it right now. Oh God, this is how it's going to end it. It didn't. And it brought that feeling back, that feeling that, that somebody like me very rarely gets of crap, I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And I just feel like the energy, everything about the match, to me, as it went on, it just got more exciting because I just had no idea. When they go out to the announce table and then they're going to do that powerbomb / RKO on Daniel Bryan, and Orton fell right on that monitor.
I'm telling you, I saw that when it happened, and I thought, he's lucky to be standing.
That's what I said.
You could see the indentations in that monitor. That had to hurt.
Yeah, I was afraid he would have, and maybe he did do some damage to his back, or whatever you call those things that have your,
Yeah, okay, sure.
Vertebrae.
You're making it worse.
Vertebrae and discs, or whatever. So, Daniel Bryan wins. We have the great moment. But, again, that comes at the end of what I thought was a great match. With, to me, great performances by everybody. I loved all of them. I thought all 3 of them were really super strong. Which, like I said, coming from with Batista, hearing him say, I wish it wasn't this way, I didn't really know if he was going to bring it, as they say, but he brought it. I thought all 3 did great. And so you end the show with a feel-good moment that comes after a really, to me, intense, fun match. And I was just on top of the world, which is exactly how you should be after a WrestleMania. Right?
Yeah, like I said, this is the first time in a really long time where I've felt that at the end of a WrestleMania. Just like, good for you, high, a really high feeling. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It was a good feeling. It was a good show, and it was a very good ending.
Yeah.
Now, questions. First question is, do you think Daniel Bryan is there to stay at the top? I mean, do you think he really has potential to replace John Cena as the top guy?
Here's the problem. I think Vince and company know that WrestleMania is, for us, for the more serious fans, the more knowledgeable fans, and he knows that the building is going to be packed with those people. You're going to get a bigger anti-Cena reaction at WrestleMania probably than you're going to get the rest of the year, I would think. So,
yeah, I agree.
It's not.
With the exception of, maybe places like Chicago or New York, with the exception of other places like that, it's always going to be very anti-Cena.
So they did an amazing job, the WWE, building up, telling the story of Daniel Bryan, making him the, in these packages, making him the beloved underdog. So they told the story great. Do they believe it? And will they continue it? And now that he's not the underdog anymore, will they know what to do with that? That's where it gives me pause. That's where it makes me wonder if they're going to keep it up. Do they know how to keep it up? Do they believe in him enough to keep it up?
See, that's kind of my feeling. That's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. Is part of the fun of Daniel Bryan for the past 6 months or so has been this chase.
Mm-hmm.
Now the chase is over. He's the champion. He's got the belts. Okay, where does it go now? Where do you go from here?
Yes.
I personally, I want to believe that he has that potential, that he can be the top guy, because I'm ready to see somebody new.
Yeah, it's almost like the company has to do its part to position some people. But then there's some people that just know how to position themselves. If that makes any sense. So,
I know what you mean.
So, I don't know where Daniel Bryan falls into that category. Again, love him or hate him, Cena knows how to just play the role that he needs to play. So even without the WWE telling us how to feel about him...
That's the thing. That's why I disagree. There were just so many times when Cena is doing promos that are just unnecessarily cheesy. And he does things that just...
This is professional wrestling.
Other people under the bus are not taking his opponent seriously, and it doesn't do anything for his opponent.
I guess, but the point I'm making is the character that John Cena is. He inherently knows how to portray that character and be that character. So the character can Daniel Bryan know exactly what he needs to be for the audience and be that? Or does he need the WWE to continually remind us? That's my point.
It's going to be interesting to see.
I wish him well, because I hate to think that... But it could be like CM Punk. His first title reign or two he wasn't handled well, and then he was able to pull himself together and find out how to be what he needed to be.
Right.
So hopefully, if it doesn't last, that it'll be a learning experience. Because I think he has a lot going for him. I can imagine. I would think, he's a little guy. Kids could identify with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like he's got a lot going for him.
That's my fear, though. That's my fear. I don't want Daniel Bryan. I don't want Daniel Bryan to be more like a Stone Cold Steve Austin and less like a John Cena. I don't want him to be this good guy that people love now, but a couple of years down the road, everybody starts booing because of just how often he wins, or how cheesy he is, or how much the kids love him, and things like that.
I don't think that's... I don't know. I don't know that people dislike Cena because kids like him. I think that's just another reason to dislike him. You know? If that makes any sense? So I don't think that just because you're popular with kids doesn't mean the smarter fans are going to turn on you. I just think that because Cena's so big with the kids, that the smart fans are like, they take the more elitist attitude of, well, if he's so popular, then, he's nothing to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I think it's possible to still appeal to an audience based on the merit of what you do, adults and children. But then again, I could be wrong. What do I know?
Okay, so, final question.
Yes?
Do you think The Undertaker is done?
I remember, so I watched Raw with such, interest because the people online, on this one site that I only go to one wrestling site to get my news, and people were commenting saying, you know what, he's going to come out and he's going to announce his retirement, then Sting is going to come out and they're going to set up for a final match between the two of them, a retirement match between both of them at next WrestleMania. Mania. And I don't know. Obviously that didn't happen. Will it happen in the coming weeks or the coming months?
See, that's honestly, that's kind of my feeling. That's kind of where I think they're going with it. And part of it, I think, I almost want to say that he lost this match so that he can have one last match with a guy like Sting, who is older than he is, but I think is probably in better shape physically than The Undertaker is.
Okay.
But I think that he lost this match so they can have that one last match with somebody like Sting, where that doesn't matter. The streak doesn't matter. This is just two guys going out there having one last match, and again, you don't know who's going to win it. Because I think that's part of it is, people thought, well, God, I don't want his final match with the streak to be another old guy because, it's just going to be a dull match, and we know he's going to win it, and it's just going to be blah. But, now you don't know that. You don't know that he'll win it. He may not win it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, even though they're two old guys, that's something that I personally, I would love to see.
Well, again, it goes back to storytelling. It goes back to acting. And, you can get a guy that's out of shape who can still... Well, I don't want to say that Ric Flair was out of shape in the end of his career, but he obviously wasn't at the peak of his ability physically. However, I remember thinking that the guy can still tell a great story in the ring, even though he's old and even though he's, getting a little, puffy, or whatever you'd call it. So I don't think that you have to be an amazing athlete in the top of your game to be able to give a good wrestling match.
Well, no, I agree. And see, that goes back to the whole, WrestleMania 20 speech, 27 thing that you were talking about. That wasn't a great match. It's basically just a bunch of spots. But it was a good story, and it was fun to see.
Yeah.
And, I enjoyed it from a storytelling point of view.
And
so
I think that...
there's still potential there to tell a good story.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and again, why Brock and Undertaker couldn't pull it off this year, who knows? It might have been the Undertaker's injury that they reported after the fact. Who knows? That to me was the disappointment that, yeah, so physically maybe they're not allowed to do, or not able to do big things, but they still weren't able to. You know what? When the Undertaker did the whole Hell's Gate moves, he did it twice earlier in the match. I didn't feel like Brock was selling that. To me, it looked just...
That's part of my problem with Brock Lesnar, is Brock Lesnar, to me, doesn't sell things as well as most guys do.
Yeah. So that was an early disappointment.
He's a bit arrogant, but, whatever.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and watch his match with Triple H last year, which I remember at the time thinking it started off very slowly, but then ended very well. So I'm going to have to go back and look at some of the things for some of the trouble spots that I saw in the Undertaker match.
Yeah.
Oh well.
And part of the whole Taker Sting thing. You know, next year it's WrestleMania 31. You know, it's not a big. It's not an even numbered, or it doesn't end in a 5 or a 0.
Right.
As far as WrestleMania go, it's not a huge deal. It's just another WrestleMania. So I think something along the lines of Undertaker Sting. I mean, I think it's something that could end the show. I think those are two guys that deserve. I mean, WrestleMania 26. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker was the final match of the show. Even though Shawn Michaels lost, which obviously that was his choice. He got to end the show, saying goodbye to everybody. And I think the Undertaker, especially, I think he deserves that. That's part of the reason why I don't want this to be his last match, because he just kind of left.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's not really his character and his way, but I think, me personally, he deserves to go out, not necessarily on top with a win, but just with the proper fanfare and the proper respect.
Right. He was always a character that carried himself with such grandiosity that watching him just walk out of the ring with his head down, that was a part of, I think, what added to that shock. That it wasn't just that he lost, that he was having to leave with his tail between his legs, so to speak.
Yeah.
So a big moment to truly end his career on the right note. I think that hopefully is what they're going for, and hopefully he wants that.
Yeah, I would hope so. I hope that he wants something like that, and I hope that if he doesn't want that somebody can talk him into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we've talked for 47 minutes and 17 seconds, which I think
it's been that long. Crap.
Yeah, I think last year we went an hour. We stopped at the hour mark, so we're doing better, guys.
Yeah, it was about an hour.
We're not wasting as much time. But I hope, please, leave your comments, and I promise I will read and respond to comments that I see. I promise. Chris, will you try to do it as well?
I'll do it as much as I can.
Well, Chris doesn't. He's. I'm kidding. I'm making a funny face. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think. If you think we're wrong, or if you feel we need to be informed about anything, please, you're probably right.
While we're talking in front of the viewers, Scott, let's discuss something else.
Uh-oh.
We both have the WWE Network.
Oh, yeah, I got the network. Go ahead.
So we should both be able to at least watch the pay-per-views every month.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's do that then.
So what do you say every month we try to do one of these? Even if it's just once a month.
Fine with me.
Okay.
That sounds good. So yeah, I hope some of our old friends are still around. I don't know if everybody's moved on. I did some searching. Monoxide is still out there. He won a wrestler impersonation contest at WrestleMania. Did you see that?
Show, and he went to the show. Several other people went to the show.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm bummed that we couldn't make it, but there are reasons why we couldn't.
So financial reasons, work reasons.
It definitely, I will go to another one day. I'm sure I won't go to 31 because it's in San Francisco, I believe, which I just can't imagine, being able to afford something like that.
Yeah, flying across country.
One day. Scott will go to another one day.
Oh yeah. So yeah, hopefully you're still out there and can still find us. Those of you who were good friends of ours in the past, and I hope you do. This is for you guys. Seriously, thank you for watching, and I hope you've made it all thus far. And we will see you after, what's the next pay-per-view called?
Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules, really? Okay, Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be nice. So, signing off, your loyal review guys. Scott, Adios. Chris?
Peace, everybody.
Hey, you said it. You remembered. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.